Hey everybody, Dr. Ray, and today what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the Blue Yeti microphone, as seen here, Blue Yeti, with the Yeti X, as seen here. All right, now I'm going to compare these two. I'm going to talk about what I like and dislike about each of these mics, some of the differences between the two. Now keep in mind, if you are a sound professional, this video is not for you. This video is for the person who is doing some podcasting, some streaming, and is not sure which of these mics to buy, because I'm not testing like the kilohertz of each one against each other. I'm telling you, from my perspective, my opinion, when using these two mics, what I like and dislike about each one. All right? Because if you want to see the video that compares, like, you know, what happens when I'm 6 inches away versus the other one, that's not the video. There are other videos out there that do those kind of comparisons. I'm talking about what I personally prefer, what the general population is going to prefer when they're using one of these microphones. All right. You ready to get into it? Let's go. So first of all, there are some big differences between these two in the way that they look. Each of these microphones is on a stand, comes on a stand, and if you prefer to use it on the stand, that's fine, but the Yeti X stand is shorter, making the microphone about 1 inch smaller, which if you're using it on the stand is quite a big deal. If you're using it on an arm, like one of the arms connected to your desk, the mics are about the same size. The Yeti X is a little sleeker and a tiny bit smaller. Nothing that I've noticed when I'm using it on the arm, but when it's on the stand, I notice a very large difference. All right, so that's one of the key differences in the size of the stand. All right, next thing that you're going to notice as a difference between these two mics. So the Yeti X, I'm going to show you the Yeti X. Now keep in mind when I'm showing it to you, I'm using it to record this video, so keep that in mind as we're using it. So first thing I do, the way you control the Yeti X, you have a button on the front that controls your volume and your gain, and it also shows you your digital sound. Check it out here. You can see it moving. Did you see that little button? You can turn that, and you can also use that button to mute. All right, cool. And then on the back, we can change the patterns. We can change how we're actually recording. So that's what the Yeti X looks like. Now let me talk about these features. So the first button that I showed you with the gain and stuff, it's digital. So you can see, like, when you're talking, really cool feature. I love that about the Yeti X. I think that that's awesome. Here's one thing I don't like. When I showed you that pattern button in the back, every time I pick up this, look at that button. It's really easy. If I ever touch the mic when I'm recording, like I literally just picked it up, I had to be very, very, very careful that I didn't accidentally push that button in. It presses really easy. And even when I'm just like moving the mic before recording, sometimes I messed up the pattern. It's too easy. I don't like that it's a push button like that. I really don't like that. I wish it was a nice knob. I just don't like how it is. These mics do have a pop filter inside of them, so you don't need like an extra pop filter if you think you need to buy one. You really don't for home use at all. They have an internal pop filter, so for like your P's and pop, completely fine. Okay, let's take a look. So that's the Yeti X. Let's take a look at the Blue Yeti. So the Blue Yeti, the volume and mute are in the front. You know, it's similar to the Yeti X. It's just not digital. So the problem is you can't see like the volume when you're looking at it, and but you can see when it's muted by pushing it in. Same thing with the Yeti X. On the back of the mic, we have our gain. So on the Yeti X, you see the gain in front of you, which is much better. And not only can you see it in front of you, you can see the level as it's going, so you can readjust it while you're talking, which is awesome. Can't do that with the Blue Yeti. But here's an advantage of the Blue Yeti. You know, I told you I was pushing that button whenever I moved my mic. The Blue Yeti has solved that problem. It's a nice knob that's hard to move. I mean, it's a nice solid click when you move it, and you can't press it. So that's an advantage of the Blue Yeti. Now, the charging ports for both of these are different. The Blue Yeti X uses a standard like Android charger, but the Blue Yeti uses a charger that you use for cameras, that I use for my SLR cameras. So it's not a standard SLR camera. I guess it doesn't matter because they come with the charger, and I have a million of them laying around. You can buy them off Amazon for $2 for either of them. So it doesn't really make a difference. But those are the functional like differences when I'm looking at these two mics, how they work a little differently. But overall, they're pretty similar. The biggest things I find in the functional aspects of these two mics are that the Yeti X has the nice digital gain that I can see, which I like, but it has the push button in the back, which I hate. The Blue Yeti has the gain in the back, and I can't see the levels, which I don't like, but it has the good turn knob for the patterns, which I like. So yeah, they each got a plus and minus there. Okay, let's talk about using these two mics and the differences in what I think are the differences in sound. But let me just tell you the actual like technical differences, if they're going to matter to you. So the big thing between these two is that the Yeti X has 4 condensers. The Blue Yeti has 3. So 4 versus 3. And the sample rate on the Blue Yeti is only 16 to 48, and the sample rate on the Yeti X is 24 to 48. Those are the two functional differences like in the internals of this device that will make them different. Also, let me get to those in a sec. The Blue Yeti X has a piece of software that allows you to change some of the voice effects called Blue Voice Effects. I did use it the first time I used the mic just to see what it was. I've never used it since, so I'm not sure how useful that is for people, because I use like the software I'm using to record my videos and sound is not that software, so like it doesn't help me with anything really. It does allow me to like change some of the colors of the gain, but that's very cosmetic. So the software hasn't been useful for me at all, so I don't really see that as an advantage of why I'd buy one of these two. Okay, so let's talk about the sound differences. So in theory, the difference in number of condensers and the bit depth sample rate should make the Yeti X sound much clearer and sound better. And I've seen some videos where people demonstrated those differences, especially when they're doing things like singing or doing something that really requires like a correct pitch and tone and clearness. So technically the Yeti X has that and is the advantage there and has that clearness and clarity. In practice, when I'm podcasting and when I'm shooting a video, there is 100% zero difference in sound quality between these two mics that I can tell or that anyone else is going to be able to tell. So I don't think the mics really I don't think anyone stands out as like this clear, well, I would get this one over the other. I think yes, the Yeti X is the better mic. It's got the 4 condensers, and if I ever was going to sing, which I'm not because I have the worst voice, or like play music, and there's no way I'm playing my guitar in the mic because I do play guitar, but like I'm not good enough for that. So like if I was going to do that kind of stuff, it would hands down, I would pay the extra money for the Yeti X. The Yeti X is like $170. The Blue Yeti's like $130. Honestly, I can find them both much cheaper online at various sites. There's really like a $30 to $60 price difference between these two. I think the closer you get to $30 is definitely going in the direction of the Yeti X because it is a better mic. The gain, I think the front gain setting is probably the biggest functional feature that is useful, even though I hate that push button in the back. So is it worth it? If you're struggling for money, like money's a big deal, which it is for most people, but if like $40 is nothing to you, just get the Yeti X. But if it is a lot to you, that $40, $50, and you're like, I'm struggling to even get to $100 to get the Blue Yeti, I think that 100% just get the Blue Yeti, especially if you're just like doing this for podcasting. The Blue Yeti is way more than enough mic for podcasting, way more than enough mic to shoot like videos for YouTube that like I'm doing. Way more than enough. It's absolutely perfect. Tons of the best people doing podcasts and videos are using it. So it's fine for you. If you are thinking about like using this like for music or anything like that, I'd probably lean towards the Yeti X just to have, that little bit of clarity in the 4 condensers. I'd probably lean towards the Yeti X. And if you don't really care about the $40, I'd get the Yeti X just because it has the digital face where I can see the gain as I'm talking. I do like that feature. I have been able to adjust on the fly, especially when I'm doing like an interview or something like that. So those are my thoughts between the two. I think they both sound about the same. I don't think you're going to notice a home difference as like a podcaster, streamer, or anything like that. So I'd pick the one that you think, is more functional for you. Make sense? Let me know what you think. Tell me in the comments, if you've had both of these and compared them, or which one you have, and are you happy with it, and stuff like that. All right, later all.